Whereas when you're in execution mode and your head's down in your business, I think it's really easy to just be executing and executing just to get things out the door, just to get things done, and maybe losing sight of that larger strategy, right? And the irony of it is, this is what I do for clients. This is what I get hired out to do. And it's so easy for me to do in someone else's business. But for my own business, it's a real challenge. And that's sort of one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast. We are coming to the end of the year. And every year at the end of the year, I do one of the most important things in my life and business, which is do a year review. So I thought it would be helpful to talk through my process a little bit and maybe inspire you guys to do a year in review for yourself. Because I feel like we get so excited to start planning our goals for the next year. I think there's this like momentum that starts picking up at the end of the year where we're just like ready for the current year to be over, and we just want that fresh start, and we just want to begin again. In fact, I've gone so far as to I remember I think I bought my next year planner in October. It's actually sitting right next to me. I bought the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt because everyone raves about it. So I'm really hoping that that's going to be awesome. But I was in October thinking, I'm so excited for a new planner. I'm so excited for my goals. I've already done my goal planning, I think, since the end of October. I'm just so ready to start 2025. But what has been even more important, because now these conversations I've been having with my teams, I've been reflecting and journaling on, is really understanding what happened this past year. And if you're on our email list, I wrote a pretty vulnerable email over Thanksgiving about the 3 hardest, toughest lessons that I've learned this year, and lessons that I'm truly thankful for. Because me, just like you, as operating my business, it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and really forget to zoom out. And at the end of the year, it's a really important time for you to reflect on where you've been, because oftentimes we forget what has happened through the year. And I think that time is short and long, right? It's short and long. It feels short, quick. It feels slow and fast, right? And I remember talking with my right hand, Eunice, who is such a dear friend and so wonderful and has been truly my partner for over 7 years in this business. And we were reflecting upon what did the first half of our year look like? And we forgot. We forgot about clients that we worked with. We forgot about just how busy things had gotten operationally, and how much our attention was pulled away from some of the core key areas of the business, because we were so focused on execution mode and not really maintaining that 10,000 foot view of the business. And so in the email that I wrote a couple of weeks ago, it's in wrapping up this year, I've felt a lot of disappointment because I have not accomplished some of the core things that I set out to do this year. I didn't get to the level of revenue that we put. Well, I think we probably ended and maybe surpassed the revenue level, but in ways that I didn't imagine. My year this year was focused on scalability. And then when I look back at what actually transpired during the year, I hadn't fully kind of transitioned over into the new business model that I spent all of 2023 creating. I spent 2023 creating a brand new business model, which is the Scalable Marketing Machine Accelerator. But that was really scary for me to transition into, because I have been working in one business model, which is one-to-one with clients for close to 5 or 6 years. And I look at the end of the year and I say, how come I didn't, hit all of these metrics when it comes to the accelerator offer, the accelerator product that I make. And when we do the review, to me, it became quite obvious of we didn't do all of the necessary marketing and sales processes that were required in order to build out that product because we were so distracted on other things, which was this one-to-one work. And we forgot. And that's why, I love this idea. So what I love to do is literally go back to January of the previous year in my Google Calendar and just go like week after week and remember what were the meetings that I had? What were the events that I went to? What were the launches that we did and the promotions that we did? All of that's in the calendar. What things were happening personally for me? It's so easy to forget. And again, my conversations with Eunice, my right hand, we forgot that, there were one point where we were working with, 5 or 6 one-to-one clients, which is more one-to-one clients that I've ever worked on in one time as a fractional CMO, because it's such a full-on offer and the precipice for me creating a different business model. But again, I simply did not put in the time to grow this side of the business, nor did we really consciously build out the goals around growing that side of the business. We were just trying to keep up and sort of in execution mode, which I'm sure so many of us can relate to. But the other thing that I've really realized in reviewing the previous year is that we tried a lot of things, which is incredibly positive. We tried a lot of things. I hired agencies to execute specific tactics like that I had never tried before. I tried, going into different communities and doing different events and trying out different partnerships and testing out all sorts of formats for the podcast, which, by the way, we have a whole new sort of version of the Scalable Marketing Machine podcast coming out next year. That is going to be just deeper, more sort of information rich, more tactical. Whereas when you're in execution mode and your head's down in your business, I think it's really easy to just be executing and executing just to get things out the door, just to get things done, and maybe losing sight of that larger strategy, right? And the irony of it is, this is what I do for clients. This is what I get hired out to do. And it's so easy for me to do in someone else's business. But for my own business, it's a real challenge. And that's sort of one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, because I think that not sticking to your plan or not stepping into the shoes of CEO or not working on your business, instead of working in your business, which is what I have been experiencing for the latter part of the year, I think ultimately is a mindset issue. I think that in order to step out of the day-to-day and work on your business, theoretically, we all know how important that is, like cerebrally we do. But I think we all, especially as women, I definitely feel this, gain so much of our value and our self-worth through the work or the praise or the recognition that we get from others. And that, I think, holds us back. It certainly has held me back because I've been so honed in on doing right by the clients, almost to the detriment of my own vision. And that, getting those attaboys, being quick to respond, getting things turned around fast, making sure that all of their desires are met, all their expectations are met, and not structuring my life and my day-to-day schedule in a way that would be feeding the vision that I had set for the future of our business. And that's a tough nail to crack, because I think we so subconsciously slip into this do mindset. And I don't think we understand that do mindset is often for the recognition, because saying no to answering someone's email, I don't know about you, but if I get into my inbox first thing and I have an inquiry or something is sitting there, that's there's things right now in my inbox that, I promised I would connect these two people, or just like friends in my network that have questions. It's eating at me. But I know that recording this podcast right now is more important. Getting over these uncomfortable feelings, I think, is one of the mindset shifts that is so important to all business owners. But I think it's especially difficult for us as women to see through that. And I would be so interested if anyone listening has felt the same way. If any of you out there have thought, it's not that I don't understand how important it is to work on my business instead of in my business. That I can get, right? I think the problem is implementing the discipline, and often sitting in those uncomfortable feelings of possibly disappointing someone, or having someone, not like you, or think that you, whatever things that make this, like, things you could be thinking about and bad outcomes you can be imagining. But knowing that setting your goal, setting your plan and sticking to it and keeping that promise to yourself is your top priority in your business. I think that is, at least for me, the thing that I know I need to work on the most. And it's the one thing I think that's really the linchpin in success or failure for this new business that I've birthed, right? This new business model that I've birthed. And, again, a lot of us understand what the right actions are to take in our business, but it is the discipline to stay on course that becomes the most challenging. And maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but I have a feeling that I'm not. So doing this review of the previous year can unlock some of these ahas, because, again, every quarter, I do a quarterly review and planning. But I find that a quarterly review, the review part of it is really data driven, and that's really important. But when you look at through a whole 12 months, you can start to piece together the story of your life over the past year and realize, like, what were you focused on? What things were you trying out? What worked? What didn't work? I think there are certain moments where looking at data on a weekly basis is helpful. There's some areas where looking on a monthly basis, quarterly, is helpful. But for this clear understanding of, like, where was your focus throughout the year? And when you pull out that 12 months, I think it's shocking how quickly time goes by. And especially as business owners, we can look at two particular areas, Q3, the summer months, and Q4. They're very interesting times in business that, depending on what you do, is either like a total wash for your business, because summer, a lot of people, especially if you're B2B, could be a very slow time. And Q4, if you're B2B, could be also a slow and interesting time. I think another thing that we have to reflect upon as business owners was, like, it was an election year. And this is like the second election year that I've gone through in my business. But for some reason, like, I didn't think about it. I didn't prepare for it. But everyone in my circles is like, yeah, like every year in election year, it's like a complete disaster, right? It's such a wash because people are just kind of holding their breath. They're very nervous to be investing. A lot of just sales across the board on product and service are sort of down, like universally around kind of election times. But knowing that, possibly having two quarters that are a little bit of a wash, and then coupling that with an election, you realize that maybe in your business, you have like 6 months to really be bringing in clients or really be, getting home runs on promotions or campaigns that you're doing. So overall, the year could go quite fast for your business, and even more important to be all that more strategic in how you're planning your goals yearly and quarterly and how you're executing. And I think that the level by which we need to be focused is so much more than we think. And I'm speaking as a person that has really great habits when it comes to managing my team, reviewing my metrics, doing my quarterly goal planning. But I think one thing that, again, has thrown me off course is when you're in the day to day. How do you show up every single day? When you sit down, what are you working on? Are you working on the most important things that are the highest value task for you to do in your business? I think we all universally struggle with this. But it again is the make or break to look at the end of your year and say, have I gotten to where I want to go? So I'm closing out the year. I would say hopeful because I've been able to really identify the places where I have gone wrong in 2024. And that has been a real gift because if I understand what has gone wrong, then I can fix it. But what so many of us do, and I certainly have done this in the past, where I just press along, keep pushing forward. I don't look back at where I've been. I only just look at where I'm going. And in that lies the potential to keep making the same mistake again and again and again. And so identifying where your strengths and weaknesses are in terms of the way that you execute in your business, right? Because sticking to the plan and then being able to understand if the plan was the right plan in the first place, this takes an incredible amount of discipline and focus and reflection. So these are the important things that I've learned in my business, but it's just a testament to how important it is to understand where you've been. And I encourage you, do a yearly review. Yes, look at the data. I think if you are a person like me that has a very detailed scorecard, I think it's really beautiful to look at those 12 months. That data can tell you a story. But equally as important, I think it's so critical to do an audit of your calendar. Your calendar audit will tell you not only how you've spent your time, but really like what was your mindset? What were you focused on during the year? And you can really make some conclusions on what worked and didn't work. And if you're like me and you're coming to a place in the year and you're a little bit disappointed at the results, well, then I would say, you got to understand what got you there. And for me, I'm certainly disappointed that I haven't maintained that 10,000 foot view of the direction my business that I wanted my business to go in this year. But I am certainly proud that I have tried a lot of different things. I did a great job on the marketing experimentation sector. And so I have some really great data of what didn't work because some of the things that I experimented on definitely didn't work, but it gave me great information for some things that I tested out that I can see now actually did work or is in the process of working this year. And it certainly has given me clarity on how to move forward this upcoming year. So do a calendar audit. What will you find? I think I would love to hear from you and what you find from doing that audit of your calendar and where you have put your time, energy, effort, and investment, right? Understanding what are the things that you invested in. Did you run some ads for a little while? What were some lessons you learned from that? Did you hire an agency or a consultant? Did you join a mastermind? Did you go to an event? Did you hire a coach? Did it work? Did it not work? And that is such an important question that you can ask yourself. And one that I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time reflecting on. So this is going to be the last episode for this year. For anyone that has been following me and listening in on the podcast, I am so incredibly grateful to you. And I hope that you join me again next year, fresh start in January, where we're going to be realigning on understanding where our business wants to go and putting in those habits to stay focused in that 10,000-foot view. So have a wonderful holiday. Thank you again, and I'll see you back here in a couple weeks.